Had to be professional. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Riddles Around the World. I am your host. My name is Johnny. We're here with my not man of God, since you don't want me to call you that, brother. Shane, how you doing, buddy? How you doing, man?
Hi.
Really? I do all that hype work. I get a hi,
Man, your intro is just so good. I don't know what to do next.
hi. That's what I get. So today we got an interesting topic for you. We'll talk about some dreams. I know last episode we talked about the supernatural creatures, and part 2 is coming. We just conflicting schedules and haven't recorded that video yet. And yeah, so we're gonna talk about some dreams tonight. That was your cue. Supposed to
Oh,
jump in
did I miss my
there.
mark? My bad, man. I didn't know we were scripted here. Okay, so the
Read
question we're
the
asking is,
script.
hey,
There's
hey,
no
hey.
script.
I suck with scripts. Anyways, our question is,
Oh, good
do
thing there wasn't a
dreams
script.
mean anything? Right? Is that what we're going with? Do dreams mean anything?
Yeah. Dreams. What do
Okay.
they mean? Where do they come from? Where do they go?
And of course, you got the three biggest stances that I'm gonna take. Which the first one is, who knows? Okay, that's the easy one. We don't really
Okay.
know.
Okay.
Entirely subjective. We can do some guesswork, some assumptions, but I'm not going to give you a concrete answer. We can go with the psychology side, which is interesting, or we can take. Well, I'm gonna come from a Bible side here in a minute, just for a minute, and clarify a couple of things. But first,
Hey.
we're going to start off with the actual host here. We're going to throw the first curveball to you this time because I always catch the first one.
Well, I
Now it's
mean,
your turn.
it's usually I do the introductions and I toss a little home run up to you. And I mean, most of the time you get a good double base.
Well, you toss something to me. I won't. Anyways.
Look, I can't help that you suck at batting, okay? It's not my fault. So today I'm gonna take the stance on I believe all of your dreams can be interpreted into something. Not
All of them.
necessarily not all. Who knows? Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
we touched on the idea that potentially your dreams are memories from your other selves in different universes when we talked about the multiverse episode. If you have not seen that, go watch it. It was a good one. It was a banger video.
And as a quick side note, there is not just the idea of parallel universes. We can also look into maybe someday the idea of infinite universes, which is actually different. Because the idea is that there's infinite universes in a row. One ends, it starts the next one, ends, starts the next one, and we're somewhere in that line of universes. So it could be memories from a past you or reincarnation, which we also talked about already. But anyway, so back to John.
We didn't talk about reincarnation.
We did touch on it when we did the multiverse and the memories from other stuff.
Oh.
We can have a longer talk on reincarnation later if we want.
Okay. Yeah, we can plan that. I think we talked about that off. I don't know. We'll talk about
We
that
did.
later.
We talked about it off camera. You had some cool stories you told me off camera.
Oh, yeah. We have planned that episode already. Okay, cool. Back to what I was saying. I do believe that I don't know if I want to say all dreams, but a vast majority of dreams are more than likely can be interpreted in some type of whether that way be positive and or negative. Don't know. I'm not a dream interpreter. I have no idea how to interpret. But I can tell you, I think, like I said, we touched on it in the multiverse episode, where they are potential memories. So if we're going to go off of that theory, where all your dreams could be memories of your past or self, then technically your dreams could be interpreted any kind of way, or not any kind of way. You could interpret those dreams any kind of way you see, because potentially they're your own memories. That's what I'm not gonna go.
Which is fine because you're a Viking, not a fortune teller, right?
We had seers, Dick. They saw the future.
See, we'll talk about that one in a different one too. All right, so I will say this: starting off with the psychology side.
Okay.
The first question you ask on the psychology side is how could they possibly know for sure what a dream is, comes from, or means, right? So
Yeah.
if they're honest with you, which most of them will be, is it's a lot of guesswork in interpreting dreams. Okay, they don't just know this stuff.
Yeah.
The problem with even saying that much is, and I'm not saying this is all psychologists or all psychology because there's a lot of conflicting stuff on this, but some of them will tell you that dreams can't be interpreted because you actually don't remember your dream.
Bullshit.
When you wake up, your mind fills in a lot of things. What actually happened in the dream was different. For
I
example, some people will tell you you can't see faces in dreams. They'll tell you you can't read in dreams.
I've
And the
heard you
first thing
can't
you
talk, but I hear myself talk.
see, I don't know, I
But
haven't heard that, but I've heard you can't read things and you can't see faces. But I'm like, how could you know that?
but I have a weird ability. They call it lucid dreaming, where I can control my dream. I'll
I
touch.
can't see.
Well,
I
well,
don't. I've heard of that. I don't know anything about how it works, or I never
I
tried
can.
anything. I do know that I don't know how you could tell me that my dreams people don't have faces. Like, are you putting my dreams up on a TV screen to tell me? Like, we don't have that kind of tech. So how could they really know
That
that you
would be
can't read or see
so
face?
awesome if.
Man, we have so many married couples getting in fights. That's not a good idea. All right, but that's my first question. I was like, how can you know anything about dreams from psychology when they're telling you stuff that they can't actually know?
Especially considering everybody is different.
Right.
Everybody's
Like, okay.
subconscious is completely different, which is
Yeah.
technically
Well,
what your dream
not just
your dreams
um,
are from your subconscious thought
right.
process.
Yeah. And it's not just that either. It's the parts of your brain. Because what they did to come up with this, the ones that believe it, which is a lot of them, is they monitor brain activity while you're sleeping, and so they say, hey, this is the part of your brain that would allow you to put together things like language,
Yeah.
and it's not active while you're sleeping. And to some degree, I'm like, okay, that sounds good, but at the same time, it could just be sometimes it's just less active. Or
Yeah.
maybe that part of when you were scanning their brain during that part, their dream wasn't them trying to read anything. You don't know.
Yeah.
Till you
100%.
can see the dream. You don't know.
Yeah, if you can't see the
So
dream, I don't think there's any way for you to actually look at me and be like, "You can't see faces." Well, shit, because I can tell you
right.
right now, when I dream, I can see clear as day. Like if you're in my dream, I see you. I see your face, the ugly mug. It's right there. I can also I don't know the not talking thing. I've heard that from a lot of. I don't know if that's true or not because I don't know if you're subconsciously reading lips and your head is making out voices.
No, no, that would work either way, and it would make sense if they believe that because that would be tied to the same language centers of your brain.
Yeah.
But again, you'd have to be monitoring that at a time where you knew at that moment in their dream is when they remembered reading or speaking or hearing someone else speak or whatever. What if they're just dreaming they're hiking through the woods and there isn't anything to understand or hear or read or
Yeah.
say? You don't know.
Well, see,
And if
like
they wake up and they say something happened, well, that's just assuming they remembered all of their dream, which people don't do.
that is very interesting. So, talking from that point of view, what do you think a reoccurring dream is? What do you think that means in your
All right. This one I will also take from psychology because I think it's still assumptions, but kind of like the idea that there are some things that you probably don't dream and remember after you wake up. Is it actually makes a lot of sense that recurring dreams will be your mind trying to tell you something, right? Like there's, and now little things may change, or you may remember it being exactly the same dream, but either way, that means that your subconscious is controlling the dream, like you said, it comes from your subconscious.
hmm
So either your subconscious just enjoys something particular and it's a comfort zone to return to that story, or your brain's trying to tell you something, or both. I don't see there's any other thing that could cause you to have the same dream over and over with some of the same levels of details. I told you right before we started, I've had a couple recurring nightmares when I was a kid. And from what I remember from each time I had them, they were the same. I mean, as close to
Uh,
exactly the same as they could be.
I have a
That's
reoccurring nightmare that I've had. Since I was 7, and I could break it down. Like if I was in like movies, like if I had access to make this nightmare a movie, it would be a horror movie of the year. And I could break it down and tell you exactly where for like step for step what happens in the stream. I've had it since I was 7 years old. Since I
so
was 7, not a single thing has deviated from that thought.
right. And you got to ask, what could do that? What could
Yeah,
cause you to have
what
that
would
dream
cause
other than
something
your
like
own?
that? Yeah,
Uh, uh,
and
I will say, I read a really cool study that was talking about how um, it's almost like PTSD. Your brain is almost having a flashback of that dream. But
see,
even then, for it to be not just recurring, but like I haven't had the two I had in years and years and years. You're
mhm,
still having yours. That's not. normal even for something like PTSD. That kind of return to the trauma is unusual.
Yeah, and
So, and it can't be a comfort zone if it's a nightmare.
I'll no. So I'll touch on this while we're on this subject. Specifically, like, okay, so lucid dreaming, for anybody who doesn't know what that means, it basically means when you go to sleep, your subconscious takes over, but you snap out of it. And you yourself realize that you're in a dream, therefore you can control your. You've watched any of the Freddy Krueger movies, how they kill
That's
him in
yeah.
the dreams, that is lucid dreaming. They go into the dream and they wake themselves up in the dream, but not wake themselves up in life.
They're self aware in the dream.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have the ability. I don't know. I've heard it's a rare ability among people. I don't really know how rare it is. I have that ability. I can do that. So I like being able to do that because I can move around in my dreams and change them however I want. The issue I have with doing that, I don't know if anybody else does because I've never really talked about lucid dreaming with anybody, is when I change my dream and if it starts to change to a nightmare, I can't stop and it becomes twice as bad. I don't know how that happens. I don't know if it's a shift in my brain motion or my brain movement in or however it's I'm trying to say certain words and I can't put them together properly. I
Like
don't
what parts of your brain are activated
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know if because I'm self aware in my dream, it makes it worse because like, hey, now you know you're going down this hole, it's gonna be really bad for you. I don't know if that's the case or not. But
All right. I'm about to make some stuff up here. All right.
okay.
But bear with me. Okay. So I understand dreams come from your subconscious, but I wonder if some part of your subconscious is manifesting that still. Like you're losing a little bit of your self awareness and your subconscious is taking over. Because what happens is there would be a part of you that's afraid you're going to lose control and it gets worse. And so then you try to change it, you lose control and it gets worse.
Possibly.
It's
I've
it's called a self fulfilling prophecy in psychology, where you expect something to happen or you're so ready for it to happen that either by circumstances or just the way you perceive an event that comes up, it seems to have happened or it even happens.
yeah.
I kind of wonder if that's what you're doing.
Well,
Is part of your brain is thinking it into happening in the dream.
yeah, well,
I
I've
could be
looked
totally
at
off base here.
I've looked into stuff like that just to wonder, but I mean, there's no studies that I can't
Yeah,
Google
I mean
I can't Google
that'd be
that answer.
impossible to figure out. I just
Yeah.
That's just interesting that your
Well,
dream would
it's
react that way.
the best way I could describe it is as I've never done this, but from stories I've heard, like if you take some kind of psychedelic drug, like whether it be acid or something, where like they say if you lean into the bad part, really fall off into it, that's the best description I could give for that.
You're
Because
saying,
if I notice
right.
if I notice like I'm starting to dip down into something bad, I try to pull back and change it into something where it's not so negative, and it just makes it 10 times worse.
So what you're saying is, when you lose control of your dreams, it's like a bad acid trip. That's what I'm getting
I
from.
guess that's a way, but like I don't know how to explain it better than that. To be
I don't know.
honest,
I studied a lot of lucid dreaming. I've got a lot of issues sleeping as far as just falling asleep, staying asleep. So I've always been interested in sleep and dreams.
you and
I
your
know what
brother
lucid
have that in
dreaming
common, just
is,
so you know.
but I've never heard of somebody being able to do that without learning to, and I've never heard of somebody being able to do that and then the dream reacts negatively to an attempt to control it. So I'm going to have to look into that. I think that'd be really cool to try to figure out the
Mhm.
theories on psychology. Like you said, there's no way to know the answer to that.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to see the theories behind it, how that could happen.
Another way to stay on this topic with the nightmares and stuff. Like you said, you remember yours. I remember mine. I had one. I want to say 2 weeks ago now. Like the nightmare was so real that I woke up in my basement. Like in the dream, I snapped. No. I'll fully explain it so you get the full picture of it.
All right.
I mentally, when I woke up in the dream, was in my basement. When I physically woke up, I was actually in my basement. All right, so here's the dream to break it down for you. I woke up in my dream. I All of this felt like reality. This is what makes it weird. When I woke up, I heard a noise come from the baby mom, my son's room. So I sat up in bed, looked over, and I looked at the baby monitor, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, all I saw was like, say this is his blanket. You know how like if you take the blanket, you do like that, and you're tucking them in. Okay, so I saw that. I was like, "Oh, cool." I was tucking them in, no big deal. And then I saw the blanket when it did that fly up against the wall, like there was a gust of wind holding it against the wall, and then something grabbed my son's foot and just took off. So that happened, and in the baby monitor, the camera went with him, so that the angle was something dragging my son through the house down into my basement.
You've been watching Paranormal Activity, haven't you?
No, no, I haven't.
Listen,
That was what
that's
I
what they,
thought. Well, like I told my wife this the next morning when it happened. I was like, I feel like this was a paranormal activity movie. But like I watched it on the fucking baby monitor, drag my son down to the basement, and I went full on like I told him I was like I'm about to throw some fucking blessed hands with a demon. That's what I was in my head. That's what I was doing. I'm going to save my
you
son. Yeah, and like I woke up in the basement with my hands up, ready to fight. And in the dream, I woke up and I was like, "Oh, what the hell is going? Why am I down here?" And then I woke up in my actual personal life, awake in my basement, ready to throw hands. Like how my wife did not wake up, be running through the house, running down the basement, slamming all these doors in between because I'd have our bedroom door, my man cave door, my
yeah.
other door, and then my basement door. All of those doors had to come open, and they're not exactly quiet. So you have a dream like I've never had a dream that real, like where to the point where my body reacted while I was still asleep.
That's interesting too, because you get a tie between of course lucid dreaming is being able to make what you want happen in the dream, but sleepwalking that's tied to the dream is you believe it's so much reality that you're reacting to the dream. So they're kind of polar opposites. So it's kind of funny that you had both. Um,
Yeah, that's what it's like.
I,
I've done a
I'm trying
little
to
bit of
decide.
research into dreams and stuff. I mean, I'm no expert by no means, but I do know that when you're asleep, your body's not supposed to move.
Well,
You're
there's a like sleep paralysis is often where somebody isn't actually fully asleep. It's
oh, that's
their
demons.
mind is their mind is in a certain stage of sleep, and so they're aware of their surroundings, but their body's not moving because it believes the mind's asleep, right?
Hmm.
So there's different levels, and sometimes your brain can get confused. So I understand how people could sleepwalk. What's interesting to me is you're asking our question, of course, is do dreams mean anything?
Yeah.
And your point is that you think most of them could be interpreted, if not all of them.
Hmm.
My question is that if you have dreams that are either obviously a real life fear, which is your son being kidnapped, right? To real life fear, and it's so scary to you that your body reacted to it while you were asleep. And then the opposite is you're controlling your dream once you realize you're sleeping.
Hmm.
Then how could either of those be interpreted as anything?
I see.
Because
That's why I said I'm not sure.
one's just obviously a fear, and the other one, if you're controlling it, then what is your mind trying to tell you other than maybe that you're seeking control?
I don't know. See, that's the weird thing though. Like in my personal life, I'm not that controlling of a person, and like I'm more than willing to give up control to anything. I mean, so that's a weird subconscious thought.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if there was a tie to people to sleepwalking and stress. Um,
I don't know.
as far as
I
people that don't
honestly,
have it and then it starts happening, is it usually in times of high stress? But my internet's been acting. I'm afraid if I try to look that up now, that I'll buzz out. But anyways, it'd be interesting to see if that could be part of it, or lucid dreaming. I mean, as if it's
yeah, I don't know.
if that
Like I
or
said, that
sleepwalking. Either one is one's a manifestation of a dream. The other is maybe you trying to manifest control of your dream, tied
uh,
to feeling like you're not in control of some part of your life. I don't sound too much like a psychologist because I know I'm not, but
yeah,
that's where my mind goes.
I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't. That's the
Yeah.
weird thing about dreams.
And if we do want to touch on the idea of dreams being interpreted, uh, just a short note on the Bible standpoint is that uh, dreams being interpreted in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, is not uncommon at all. There were of course, references to either future
Y'all
kingdoms,
had
such as
seers back.
they had,
They were
hold,
seers. Don't worry. They
well,
had a
hold,
fancy different name. It's okay.
well,
Called a
we ain't gonna
prophet.
talk. We ain't gonna go into Nostradamus stuff right now. We can save that for another time.
I
Uh,
had to do it.
yeah. Well, I hate you. So
There's
if we
nothing
want to do
there. It's
that,
all good.
like they happened, but the debate with from the Bible side is could their dreams be interpreted because all can, or did God give them specific dreams? So you really, and there's no clarification on that. So you can't use the Bible side of interpreting dreams to try to say whether or not they can be
Also, who's to
translated in some
say
way.
all the dreams you get couldn't have God in that situation?
Again, that's what I'm saying is you can't answer that question to any degree at all from Scripture. So, because I have heard some people say that all dreams can be interpreted in the same way they were in the Bible, and I've heard others say no, they're direct messages from God. And what it comes down to is there's not a solid answer. So that'll have to be just your opinion. If you take it from the psychology side, then the most popular view would probably be that they all can be interpreted to mean something. Even flashback memories would be just you trying to feel like you did at that moment you're flashing back to, or maybe just something triggers a memory. However, either way, there's always a meaning to it.
Hmm.
So I would say they probably can be interpreted in the sense of is there a meaning? The real question is can they be interpreted to mean something future wise? Because some
Yeah,
people would tell you they have dreams and then whatever they dreamed about happens later.
that would fall into the deja vu category, which
It
we
could.
also touched on.
So then, and that's when you get into the question of like I said, a lot of psychologists will say it didn't actually happen the way it happened in your dream. What happened in your dream was vague, and your mind filled in the details later. And as things happen that look like it, that's the details your mind fills in.
Okay, but so we talked about it a little bit before I went. Uh, you said you don't really remember your dream, but the ones that you do
Yeah,
remember on a scale of 1 to 10, how what percentage do you think you actually do remember? So, like, let's take your nightmares for example. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you remember out of that?
I remember the whole of those two nightmares. I mean, I remember it feeling like it took an entire night for them to happen. Which I know dreams don't, but I remember it feeling that way just because of how
Hmm.
long those dreams were. But I have not had a dream like that since I was that age. So probably it's probably been 20 years since I remembered any length of a dream. I just that's one of the problems with sleeping as little as I do is you don't get to that deeper cycle of sleep where you can really have those vivid dreams.
Yeah, I remember. I'll probably tell you, be 100% honest. I probably remember about 80% of my.
Oh, I'm jealous.
But then again, I also do lucid dreams, so I do control
I
them.
do wonder if lucid dreams would be more vivid or more vague. That'd be an interesting study too. But yeah, I don't remember mine. Even when I do sleep for a long time, I tend to wake up a lot in the middle of it, so it keeps me from getting those deeper REM cycles. So I'm not really a standard case for that. I don't know.
Uh, so thinking back on what we talked about last week, James, I actually just thought of a way we could tie in supernatural into this. Let me pick your brain. So there are studies that say that you can't see anything in your dream that you haven't seen in real life.
Right.
There are studies saying that once you fall asleep, it's your subconscious taking over, and your subconscious cannot make up. And you don't have an imagination in your subconscious. So let me tie this into you. Let's tie nightmares in. Let's tie in the fact that in your dreams you see demons. Like see, like in your nightmares, you see these horrible creatures that you've never seen in. Now you know how I told you last week. What if we're being our minds are being manipulated to the point where we don't see these things anymore? I brought it up at the left.
Yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
little stumper. What if that is the way our subconscious is? Our subconscious is seeing these things like ghosts or these demons. We aren't. So therefore, when you see these crazy faces, these completely contorted beings in your nightmares, what if you actually are seeing? That's a
Mm.
to me that like it's a reach question, but it's also a solid question
Well,
if
I
you look
mean,
at it from that point of
yeah. Well, my first thing is a confession. I didn't know that you can't imagine. I'd heard that you can't dream things you haven't seen, but I didn't know that your subconscious can't create imagery. I thought it was just the way your brain worked at the time. I really don't know
I
that part of it,
I could
but
be I could have
I
read that wrong, but I'm pretty sure what I
well,
read it
I
said
don't
that.
I don't know. I haven't like most of what I did was that I've studied was the psychology behind how you dream.
Yeah.
Because I kind of wondered why I didn't for a long time, but also just curiosity. But I do wonder. You ever seen the movie Limitless?
Is that where they took the brain pills?
Yeah, and it like suddenly their entire brain was working at the
Yeah,
same time, basically.
I watched part of it.
Um, okay, well, how do I say this that makes sense? Our brains contain so much more information than we can just consciously pull up.
Yeah.
So, for example, you might dream that you're at a friend's house and you're walking around that house, even though you had never been to it.
Mhm.
And then you go to it and you're like, wow, this is just like my dream. Part of that could be descriptions you've heard from them in the past, even if all that was he said something about how he crossed the living room to the TV. So in your brain, you know that there's the couch and the TV's on the other side of the room, right? And it could be little pieces like that over time that build up in some part of your brain. And then you dream something similar to that. Then you go there and your brain fills in the parts that are missing or inaccurate. So you really, well, I understand they say that you can't imagine stuff in your dreams.
Mm. Yeah.
If they're right, that would be one way your brain could fill it in. But again, I don't know how they know that. I don't know how they could say that unless they can see your dreams. So
Yeah.
that's all working off of whether or not their assumption's worth anything. But if it is, that's one way that your brain could still make that happen.
Mhm. I don't know. Dreams are a very tricky and fickle subject, thinking about it just in any kind of way. Because I mean, most most people say you don't remember most of your dreams. You do feel in the majority of them. But then you do have those weird rare cases where you have people that remember the entirety of their. So I mean, again, that goes
Well,
into the whole
I,
sense of
well, I'll say
everybody's
this too.
different.
Supposedly, no one remembers all their dreams because you can only remember it depending on what level of sleep you're at when you have it. But again, that's other supposedly, so I'm just throwing it out there. But the idea would be that, and I can't remember off the top of my head how many different levels of the REM cycle there are, but basically, you
Two,
got to be in the
three,
deepest one to have a dream that's vivid enough to remember it. But you can have
three,
dreams
like
before you actually reach that point. So if they're not as clear or vivid or whatever, you forget them. So, um, but again, I don't know how they
I
could
mean, I'll argue the point again though.
know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'll argue the point. Like everybody is different. What if you take somebody with a eidetic memory or a photographic memory, and then they sleep? They're gonna remember everything. I mean, I don't know if that translates into a dream, but if you take a special case like that, what if you have a photographic memory and let's say you're a lucid dreamer as well, like me? What if you take a photographic person, a memory with a of that magnitude, put them in a dream where they can control it? They would remember the whole thing, right? Because technically it would be them in control of the dream, and that means they would remember everything.
I don't know that'd be interesting. I'm not sure what parts of the brain uh, connect in a way that it helps that somebody could have eidetic memory or how that would tie to the visualization they use when they're dreaming. I wonder if those two parts can work together
I'm
because
not sure,
that would be really interesting if you could find somebody who could use their eidetic memory to recall every detail in a dream. But even then you just have psychologists saying, well, their brain just filled it in later, so you just wouldn't know. It'd be
but
fun to talk to somebody like that though.
well, if you know anybody,
I know a guy with
shoot me about
photographic
it.
memory, but that's not as good. His eidetic memory would be better. I don't know any of those.
I don't either.
I don't know
That is
smart
definitely
people.
you know me,
That's that's what I said. Uh,
but yeah. So I mean, from my thought process with the subconscious and seeing the nightmares and demons and stuff, do you think that could potentially be another way we could tie that in us shutting off a certain part of our I won't say our it's not imagination, it's a certain part of our thought process shuts that off where we don't see it, but our subconscious Do you think that is a potential or a possibility in any kind of way? Because if you think about it, if you think hard on your nightmare, I don't know what your nightmare was. I don't want to ask. I don't want to pry into that. But you think about that, and if any of it was in a supernatural type of way, how would your brain interpret to the level of realism that you have?
I would have to say no, not because all right, like I'm trying to think of a good example, like in media or a book or something of where you can't realize something's there because you so strongly don't believe in it. And I know there's something, and it's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think what it is. But I guess my point would be is if vampires are real and they walk in front of you and you don't see them because you so strongly believe they don't exist, then what happens when a werewolf charges by you and knocks something over?
Well, see,
Like they impact the environment as much as they do you, and to some degree, your mind might could cover that up,
I know
but
I got to
not
answer that one.
not if it happened a lot.
I got to answer. We live
All
in
right.
a simulation.
Oh my goodness. Listen, if we're gonna do a
I knew
if
that
you
was
want to
going to
do a
get you.
Matrix
I knew
podcast,
that
man,
was going to get you.
we need 2 solid hours on another day. Okay,
Hey, I'm okay. I'll do it. I mean, fuck it.
I'm
I've
gonna have
cussed a
to
lot, and I apologize for that tonight
I'm gonna
because
have to take
I'm kind of tired.
some some energy pills or something if we're gonna have that talk.
We'll do
Anyways,
we'll
so
do that one live. That one would be fun.
that would be. Anyways, I don't. So no, my point is we would recognize problems in the environment, even if nothing else, because they would
What if we wouldn't
happen
know?
they would happen to a degree that our minds, waking minds, couldn't fill in all the
All right,
blanks.
so let me argue
And I've
this.
never been like walking across a parking lot and and a rock just jumps on its own because an invisible vampire kicked it. Like that kind of
He-
stuff doesn't happen.
Hear me out on this though, and this is probably gonna be more of a reach just to throw you. But you know the little shadow people that they're in the corner of your eye. You know what I'm talking about? I think they say it's shadow people, but I don't remember the actual word for it. Where you see like a glimpse of something right here, and you're like, "What was that?" What if you seen it but you didn't see it? That's a
Shadow people.
reach. Shadow people is it's a ghost thing. I don't remember what the actual thing is called. I always call it shadow.
All right.
But I'm just come on now. This is kind of trolling you, but it's also
No, no.
another
Okay.
point to be
Two
made.
things. Well, there's two things there. First is there's the stuff, all the stuff in or on your eye that you can actually see. Like if you just sit there and stare into the sky and you can see stuff moving around, like that's the
Yeah.
stuff on your eye, right? It could be that. I'll also
They're
say that
talking about dreams. I'm getting tired. Sorry.
if our belief is so strong that it could hide creatures that are moving around from us, why would our peripherals lose that ability?
Because
Like
uh,
from
you
like
lost
from
focus for half a
here
second.
to here, your brain just ran out of power. You just couldn't convince you anymore.
I mean, your
I don't
brain runs out of power here to mouth.
listen. Mine's out of power right now.
I
Okay,
feel
I'm
you.
struggling.
We're talking about dreams. I'm over here like shit. I want
Uh,
to be in a dream right now.
right. But yeah, so I guess
But
my question there would be between the center of your vision, your peripherals, what changed that gave you the ability to
what
just
if
see
it's
it for a
just
second?
it's the fact of like one of your receptor, not necessarily one, but a cluster of your brain's receptors just kind of like flip for half a second on that specific thing. What if your brain is working in overdrive to make not see an image of the shit, and it's just like, okay, it's short circuited for half a second. What
All
if?
right,
I mean,
okay. Let me give you an example of that. Say you're sitting in your chair right there.
yep.
That happens, right? Because just for that split moment, a freaking werewolf is walking by you into your kitchen. Okay, maybe, but I'm in Walmart and I've got 1,200 feet of open aisle next to me, and that happens here. Why is there just one little shadow, and why aren't they all the way to the end of the building? Because they're everywhere.
Maybe there are not that many of them in your area. Who knows? Like I said, that is a stretch and it's a reach, but
I don't, but
it's
that's what
to
I'm saying.
add to my point of the supernatural being
That's what I would
being more
argue
real.
against it is because if there was a split moment where you could see them, you'd see all of them in that direction for that split moment, not just
That's but that's
not one
saying that
little
there's a bunch of
flicker.
them around in that incident.
I mean, if you're outside and you can see for the next 2 miles and you only see one, if they're that few, they die out
Maybe
or
they're lone wolf.
get stomped out, unless they're Rougarous or Wendigos, but that's a different topic. The chupacabra, that's where Bigfoot and chupacabra come from. Is there the flicker that you can see under the corner of your eye sometimes?
I don't remember what the
I
fuck a
just
Rougarou is. I know it was on Supernatural.
It wasn't supernatural.
I just don't remember exactly what it
Uh,
was.
Craving for flesh. I think they had reptilian type skin. Had to reach a certain age and taste blood for it to activate. But
We'll
anyways,
dive into more of those
that
on
was my nerd.
part two.
That was my nerdy reference for the day was that.
We'll
But
take
yeah,
it.
so your question is, do you think they tie together? My answer, is, as usual, as a skeptic, is no.
Shoot 'em. I'm not gonna say the joke. I'll say it.
Okay, okay.
But I don't know. I'm gonna say yes. Dreams can be interpreted to certain things, whether or not any of those things are ever really important.
Wait. We lost track of one. Can dreams interpret the future? You didn't say your stance on that.
I mean, I said it tied into deja vu. I think it definitely. We talked about
You
the
did.
deja vu stuff. Well, I mean, we talked more on that on the multiverse episode, but
Yeah.
yes, I do believe because I do believe in the multiversal theory. I believe that could be a real possibility. Do we know? No. But if you take, like I told you, there's been some cases of deja vu that's been so powerful. You're like, holy, I've done this. That could very realistically be a memory from yourself in a different universe, or where that exact same thing happened, and it's just a equal wavelength for all of you, you and yourself throughout the multiverse. So yes, I think dreams could have some type of interpretation that moves you forward and backwards. It could move you backwards in the sense of reincarnations, where you remember stuff when you're younger that you normally wouldn't
Past
remember.
life in this universe,
Yeah.
or
So like
even past
say
universe.
say you got me right now, I'm 27, but say me in a different universe is still 12, and I have a memory from when I was 12 pop up that feels like deja vu. That could be a very real possibility. Because if you think about it, deja vu, it's always the future. So possibly there's an older me remembering in a dream that this happened and then it happened to me, and it's like boom. It could be I don't want to say an infinite loop, but it could be it could be an infinite loop of memories that are constantly flowing through one person
If,
to the
if we
next, and
have
then it happens.
um, if we have an emergent infinite universe where it breaks down to nothing and comes back and kind of restarts, then it could be an infinite loop. But the emergent versus fundamental universe is a discussion for a time when we've had some sleep. So we could talk about vanishing particles and quantum physics and all that another time. I'm too tired for that crap now.
You can talk about that. I will listen and nod with a slightly understanding, and then I'll make a joke, and then I'll go back.
Okay.
I'm predicting the future of that episode right now.
All right.
But yeah, that's where we're gonna end it. I know this is a weird conversation, more or
A little
less.
more random.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a little more random, but as you can tell, we've both been yawning throughout this episode, and we've both had very lack of sleep lately. Our schedules have been very hectic. But part two will be out next week, right? We'll discuss that. Part two of our supernatural beings will be out next week, hopefully, maybe the week after. We'll discuss this. Also, I do have an announcement about the podcast. We have been talking about potentially taking it live on my Twitch, which the link to that will be in the description down below. And potentially, if y'all want to come and be on the show while we are live, then we can let you in, say your piece, and then we'll figure that out more. Uh, we are talking about doing it live at least once a month until our schedules line up a little bit better than they are right now. Because right now, both of our schedules aren't conflicting, but they are very packed with things. So that will be a thing. Also, the email address to the podcast will be in the link as in the description as well. That way, in case y'all have a certain, let's say, supernatural creature y'all want to hear us talk about and potentially break down, y'all can email that in to us. Or if y'all want to hear us talk about anything, y'all can email that in. Or you can find me on my Discord or any of my socials. The link will be in the description. Send me a message. Let me know what y'all want to talk about. And if you'd like to be on here, just let us know. But until next time, y'all have a great night.